Welcome, everybody. We're excited you're here tonight. It's October 25th, 2023. For the next Hookup with Real Estate Masterclass, and we have a very special guest, Silvius Grant. I am going to... We have a couple of ways that you can stay connected with us. We have a YouTube channel at Hookup with Real Estate, and shortly after this call, the next day or two, this recording will be up there. We also have a Facebook group. So facebook.com/groups with an S/hookup with real estate. Okay, also want to share that I have a book out, or at least a chapter in a book, and tell about our story with 3 failed partnerships early on in our real estate journey. So you can get them for $2.99 on Amazon, or a signed soft cover for $23.99. Just dig me if that interests you. All right. Ken, would you read this disclaimer, please?
Yes, we appreciate you. Excuse me. We appreciate you attending the Hookup with Real Estate Masterclass. 1 second here. I gotta minimize that so I can read it. Masterclass class presented by co-hosts Kenneth and Donna Hook. The content we provide is strictly for educational purposes and not intended as legal, financial, or investment advice. Remember, participation in this program is at your own discretion. Real estate markets are subject to change and can be dynamic. Neither Hookup with Real Estate nor its representatives will be liable for any outcomes resulting from the information provided. Seek professional advice before making any real estate or investment decisions. By attending, you consent to this event being recorded and understand that internet security is not absolute.
Thank you, Ken. The next thing I want you to read is the quote of the day.
Showing up builds trust.
Wait.
I'm not that fast. Showing up builds trust. Trust builds relationships. Relationships build business.
Yes, this is very apropos for the conversation we're going to have today about capital raising. So any questions from anyone before we get started? I apologize for the noise in the background. And so today's topic is dive into dollars, how to raise capital in real estate. And I am trying to find Silvius's bio, which I know I printed off. I apologize.
No, it's all right. I can tell you a few things about me. You don't have to. You don't have to look for it.
I found it, but go ahead. You can.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm gonna dive right into it. I'm a real estate investor, 20+ years doing this in the in the single family space, most of it, and I recently transitioned into commercial space about a year ago now, I think, through Grant Cardone. I was able to attend one of his live events, and then I met Alex Lovely, and through Alex Lovely, I became part of Legends Equity Group. And I've assumed a dangerous position, I would say, of capital raiser. And the reason why I did that is because everybody was running away from it. Multiple syndications that I went through, everybody offered me GP positions right off the gate. If I can fundraise 500,000, if I can raise this much. So right there, I realized I'm like, where everybody has, challenges, there's got to be an opportunity. So there's got to be a way of doing it, even though everybody's running away from it. So like in my character, I just decided to go and dive right into it. I am not an expert by no means. I've been fundraising in the commercial space for about a year now. I've been fundraising for my deals for about 15, 20 years, but there's a major difference in the single family space. When you raise for your deals, you come up with a business plan and you come up with friends, family, small investors, right? Family firms. It's not very, very complicated to raise money for a kitchen, right? You're talking about $10,000. You're not talking about $100,000 or more. As soon as I jumped into the commercial space, I set up a number for myself. I'm like, I'm not going to raise anything under 100,000 because it doesn't make any financial sense. And I want to dive into it, explain you why it doesn't make any financial sense.
Right.
For every $100,000 pretty much that you save, that you get it, you raise for a syndication, on the back end of the deal, when the asset is being sold, it's worth somewhere close to $15,000 as far as the GP table that you can get, as far as the, what the share is going to be for the money that you raise. Now, I want to define a fine line here, because it's very important. When you fundraise for a deal, you have to have a position into that GP table, right? You have to start from the get-go. And this is a huge disclaimer. You're not allowed just to fundraise just because you want to get money, you're going to get a position into a deal. You have to have experience and you have to have knowledge, and your position has to be predefined by the Security Exchange Commissioner, pretty much by the fundraiser and the general partners into that pool. So you can't, just by the definition of Security Exchange Commissioner, you can't fundraise for a deal just so you can get in the deal, just so you can get a share of that deal, just so you can become a general partner into that deal. That being said, most of the offers that I got when I first started, and this is where I want to keep it really, really real with you guys, I've been offered a GP position without a role just to fundraise. And this is, I came across 10 or 20 syndicators that offered me this position. And be aware, you're going to find it out there. There are people out desperate. They're right there. They want to close the deal. They need $300,000-$400,000, and they want to do everything to get it closed. And they're willing to risk the whole deal by offering you a general partner position into the deal for fundraising only, right? So my personal experience comes in play here. And this is why I was able to enter and penetrate multiple deals in the same time in the fundraising space. But everything was based on my experience. I have 20 years of construction experience in New York City. That being said, I've been in the commercial space for 20 years building them. I worked as a surveyor, land surveyor for a local union in New York City, and that's how I got my boots on the ground part of work. So I ended up very quickly knowing how to read drawings for all trades, and eventually ended up building them buildings all the way up to like 100 stories. So having that construction knowledge is what helped me get into the fundraising side and getting a general partner deal very quickly into a deal. Having the construction experience is what allows me to be into a deal and leverage my position into that deal as boots on the ground for a deal that is right away offset with fundraising. So I just want to make that clear from the very beginning, because you're gonna find, especially if you're at the very beginning of fundraising and you are jumping from syndication to syndication, you're trying to find your way into commercial real estate, you're gonna find that option there, right? So be aware that you have to fit in to that syndication, right? That's the first step. Now, as far as fundraising goes,
tell us a little bit more about, I know John here has a lot of construction experience too, but what specifically about construction and, even being able to read the blueprints was it that helped you to?
All right, so reading the blueprints, yeah, it's not the biggest thing, but because I did flips before, I did all kind of renovations, all the stuff, I kind of know how to do an inspection, and this is part of me being a surveyor. Inspecting a building, you gotta do your due diligence on a building when you purchase a building, right? So you walk with a team, you walk around it, then you order an inspection, then you have a budget for it, and then you realize, you way over budget with that number. Your capex comes through the roof and your numbers don't work. So this is where I associate myself with a syndicator. I can walk a property and tell them what's wrong, and I can create a budget because I've bought these AC units before, because I've done that kind of work before, because I did roofs before, because I was definitely in the trades doing the work before, and I have that experience. That's why my value, it's added towards the syndication. So
So is it
that's,
added more early on, like in the due diligence period, do you feel
yeah,
like?
absolutely. So when somebody finds a deal and you want to walk the property for the first time, make sure you walk the property with an engineer, architect, somebody that has experience in construction, like heavy construction, like experience in the commercial space. And I'm deciding here, and I'm telling you, is a fine line between residential and commercial. If you have experience in construction, the residential side, knowing that you know how to put a nail in the wall, right, and hang, you know, a lamppost, that doesn't mean you have the experience in the commercial space. But if you do have experience in the commercial space, you can leverage that right into a deal. If you're an AC man, yeah, that's so much money involved, right? If you're an electrician, that's so much money involved there. If you're a surveyor like me, I do maps, I define property lines, I do inspections, I inspect foundations for cracks. Value comes in based on your experience, pretty much. At least this is what got me in. Now, you don't have to. Honestly, you don't have to have that kind of experience. This is what's going to help you if you have it. If you don't have it, it's fine. You can penetrate the layers of a syndication through multiple ways. You know, there's so many positions out there. You can leverage yourself in multiple directions.
Yeah, I've
Right
heard
now,
recently, like one guy's a plumber and another guy does solar. You know, they're trying to get into deals using their experience. They don't have any other experience.
it works. It works for the initial phases, right? If you are taking let's say storage, I'll just give an example, right? There's a deal where, you know, 50% of the building is already up, the builder is exiting, is selling, but the other 50% needs to be built. Well, that's an awesome opportunity for me to show up because I know how to, you know, bring a building together. I know what relationship I need to have with the architects, with the engineers, or the surveyors, the ownership. I can put everybody together and I can have that building done in a timely manner. And I represent the ownership. I don't represent the construction company. So it's a second pair of eyes overseeing the construction process. That's where I leverage my experience in construction. And that's how I plan on leveraging. I'm not planning on taking a job of GCing the job. You could if you have that kind of experience, but it's not. Listen, we're talking
No,
about big money, big
you're
buildings.
doing GP, not GC, right?
Yes,
Which is
exactly.
general
Don't
contractor.
don't go for general contracting and don't assume that kind of role when you're actually looking for entering a syndication model, right?
That's valuable.
That's important. That's important, but you can leverage your skills and everything you have to penetrate a syndication through different ways. Fundraising, because I want to go back to fundraising. Fundraising takes skills, and fundraising, it's totally related with the relationships that you have with people and how quickly can you express, you know, yourself, if you can speak on stage. There's so many things that you have to take into account, and I love it because I'm in the personal development space. I started my personal development journey in 2016 through Tony Robbins. I went to one of his events, UPW, and I loved every minute of it. Then I decided to go every event, and then I went bananas and I picked up so many events that I can't even count them anymore. The point is that I made a lot of connections going through these events. And when I first started in real estate, which is first started professionally, like a career, a real estate investor, I did it back in 2016, like when I was 100% involved. And the first thing that I found was Bigger Pockets. Not sure if you guys are familiar with that website. Bigger Pockets is a huge community.
Like a podcast, yeah.
They started somewhere back in 2012, and any question that I had related to real estate, somebody would answer me in a timely manner. And then I started bringing value to that community. It was a small community, and the owners of the website, of the platform, and people there, they were just talking about bigger deals all the time. They were just bringing my game up. Like I had one door and they were talking about 6 pink houses, the ugliest houses on the corner in the neighborhood. And then all of a sudden they start doing deals together. And that happened somewhere in 2018, 2019, where none of them were syndicators, where all of us were operating in single family space. But all of a sudden one of them says, you know what, I'm going to buy a building. And I came to find out that on the back end of that bigger pockets, they created a special group of people called GoBundance. That GoBundance group of people was a group of millionaires. And they put their money together and the power together, and they decided to buy buildings. And right now they're all successful, extremely successful. GoBundance went to like $10 million minimum to be part of that group. It was $1 million in 2016. I didn't have the money back then, and I wasn't part of it. And then when I made the money, they raised the bar to 10 million. I'm like, okay, cool. I can catch you guys. I'm like, it took me 3-4 years to get to that bar. And then as soon as I got there, they raised it again and again. The thing is that out of those connections back in 2016, in 2018, I joined another mastermind and another mastermind and another mastermind. So altogether, I think I'm in at least 10 masterminds right now. And most of them are millionaires. So I choose very wisely what mastermind I'm going myself into. Alex Lovely has this mastermind that I'm part of, the Legends Equity Group, that I love. Yeah. It's my stepping stone into the commercial space. It was my first contact, real contact with Grant Cardone. And this is the only one that did not have the millionaire tag that I joined. This was the first one. And through my research into this community, I found out that some people had money, most of the people did not have money at the time. So right away, I kind of, I weeded out. I'm like, okay, the power of this group to close the deals over $100 million is close to nothing. And I just wanted to shake it off and figure it out completely. And we did find a deal. Me and Hawk, we found a deal. It was $85 million. And we tried to fundraise. We went for it just to see the power of the group. And we couldn't find the KP. We couldn't find somebody to sign on the deal. And we did it for about 3 weeks. And then I'm like, okay, you know what? This group is awesome. I love the values. I see the potential, but it's a little bit farther down the road. It wasn't right away. And then we took Ogden, and everybody knows what Ogden deal is, right? It's a stepping
maybe
stone.
Not everybody, but yeah, a lot of people here.
Yeah, Ogden deal is a stepping stone deal.
It's a 30-unit multifamily in Las Vegas. Yes,
that I'm very proud to be part of.
Story. Yeah. You raised capital for it.
I raised capital for it. I'm sure we're gonna close it. It's just a matter of time. Alex keep finding like new ways of going about it, and I'm pretty sure I'm convinced we're gonna close on this deal. We all deserve it. We worked for it. I'm sure it's gonna go that route. But now let's come back to the capital raising part. So when I decided to go this route, I had a little bit of experience. I raised money before. But I raised money before for my own deals. So when you raise money for a single family home or rehab, and you show them that you did 4 before, or 5 units before, or 10 houses before, people trust you. Like, okay, you got track record. How many do you own? Oh, I got Donna, right? I got 10. Oh, really? How much equity you got in them? Well, I'm 50% equity. I keep 50% in every one of them. So then I'm like, okay, if I get 100,000, if I'll give you $100,000, right, to move on to your project, which is the 11th, you still have enough equity in all the other ones to cover this loss, if ever it's going to go for a loss. That's the mentality on the back end into a single family space. So people are going to give you the money. It's not too complicated. You have track record, you have the asset, you can back it up. In the commercial space, you don't have it.
Wait, can we just talk about that for a second? So do you already own the asset before you're asking them for money, or are you asking them to money to purchase?
I own the properties, but again, in single family home space, if you have a job, you're in a W-2, right? And I was a W-2 worker. I was a construction worker in New York City, one of the guys with hard hats, right, that you see on the sidewalk. I was making a whole bunch of money because union and the position that I had and things like that, I was like over $150,000 a year, which allowed me to purchase properties outside of New York. And I've decided to purchase them in Pennsylvania, because the first property that I purchased in Pennsylvania, I bought it on auction.com for $60,500 cash purchase. I renovated for like $80,000. I refi out for $200,000. I took the money from there and I bought another one. And then I did burst strategy. I bought another one after that, and another one, another one. When I got to the 4th one, guess what? I ran out of money. The 4th one is that magic number. I ran out of money. A 4th one, I was looking for investors.
Okay.
I'm gonna go. I still have the other ones. I have equity in them. I just can't pull it out anymore because my income does not cover that kind of debt to ratio. So that was the point where I had to look for investors. And I did find the investors. The dream that I was selling back then was short-term rentals in the Poconos. And if you guys know Mount Pocono, it's a New Yorker destination. Not the top high-scale New Yorker, it's just a regular New Yorker, right? The top high scale goes to Hunter Mountain and goes upstate New York. They don't go to Pennsylvania, right? So
Yeah.
that was
So,
easy.
but what,
That was
how did
easy.
you find those investors? Like, what did, you weren't
Yeah,
already in
I want to tell you the
mastermind?
story. Yeah, I'll tell you those. I was in all these masterminds, but to my surprise, none of those people in the masterminds came through. When I asked for money, everybody was like, okay, yeah, we got a couple properties, but you don't have enough experience. I'm not really sure if you know how to handle my money. These people were millionaires. They had a lot more than $1 million in the bank. And I was asking for 150,000, 200. It wasn't what they were looking to invest in. So I wasn't in their buy box. So I found my first 100,000 that I fundraised, I found from one of my workers, believe it or not. So I was hiring contractors, and one of the contractors, a roofer. He came to my house, and for whatever reason, he told me he's looking to buy a house cash. So I'm like, what do you mean you're gonna buy a house cash? He says, yeah, I got about $600,000 cash, and I want to buy a house. I'm like, you talking about cash? He says, yeah, I have it in the house. I'm like, oh my God, I've never heard anybody. Like, you have $600,000 cash. He says, yep, I've been paid cash for most of my jobs, and I have it in the house. And I'm like, okay, man. So right away, I had a deal coming in, and I want to get him involved. I knew he had the money for it, and yeah, that was my first fundraiser. And it was one of my workers, and it was through just a legit conversation. That's what he wanted it. Then later on, I fundraised again for another deal of mine, and this time, the way I had to raise, this is crazy. I went to a closing, and the day before closing, the owner calls me, the seller called me and says, listen, I want 100,000 cash. I'm like, no, what do you mean cash? Like, I wired the money. Like, we just can't close cash. He says, no, I need the cash. I want to cash at closing tomorrow at 8 o'clock. So right away, I went through my mastermind community group of people. I texted a whole bunch of people. I'm like, I need 100,000 cash for tomorrow morning first thing. And I'm willing to pay whatever it is, 1% a day, because that's the ongoing rate on hard money loans, if you guys don't know. So I found the money. I found the cash. It took me 4 hours to count 100,000 in bills. I went and I grabbed the money, put them in a suitcase. I drove to the closing table. I got there, and the lady, the closing agent says, listen, you better disappear with this money quick, because I have to call the FBI. I'm like, no.
What
The
happened?
seller, you're not allowed to close with cash.
Oh,
It's laundering money. I couldn't justify the provision. I did. I justified. I'm like, I got it from this guy. He just gave it to me in a suitcase. So I went there, like, I could prove it, but the guy couldn't justify it. So it's like,
oh,
it's money laundry. We don't take it by law. By law, you're not allowed to bring anything over $10,000 in cash at the closing table.
well,
So
that's
just so you guys
interesting.
know. Yeah. So, you live and learn. I'm like, okay, this guy called me late last night that he's not going to sign unless I bring him $100,000 in cash. So now they start talking. They let me go. I left with the money, and we closed on the property the next day. But that was
Wow.
another quick fundraising. I still had to pay the 1% for the 100,000 for that one day.
I'm sure for the one day. Yeah.
Yeah. So other ways of fundraising for short-term rentals and things like that is when I got people involved. I'm like, okay, I'll give you equity. I'll give you 30% of this deal. Like, I want to buy it. So I start buying. I built myself a portfolio in the short-term rental that I sold. I just don't have it right now. I have one more property that I'm selling. It's my last one, and I exited. And this is when my issue with, like, what do I do with my money now? Like, how do I handle this without paying all the taxes, all the capital gains, and everything else? And this is when I found the syndication model. And to my disadvantage, let's say it, I did not do it in time. This was December of last year.
You
The
had to
time
pay
was
tax.
ticking. I could not find a syndication that I could trust that quickly.
Can
I could
I
not
can
put
I
my
ask
money.
a question? So you could actually sell your did you say you sold your like single family and then rolled it into syndication without you know,
I did not. What I'm telling you is that I did not. That's exactly what I was gonna do, and I wasn't able to do that.
but
Yeah, you
but
can't
if you
really
did it like in
1031.
January, but if you did it in January and you were able to close by December, you're allowed to do that?
So no. So what happened is I sold in July.
Okay.
I sold the property in July. There was no 1031. There was nothing. I didn't do
Mhm.
anything. The reason why I sold was a personal reason. I just couldn't hold on to my properties. My wife was like, "Listen, I think I was pulling about $16,000 to $20,000 mortgages, and the income coming in from the Airbnbs that we had wasn't covering it. I had money in the bank, but I was bleeding for like 6 months, and my wife was like, "Listen, you can't do this. You're losing money. What are you doing?" So I'm like, you know what? For the sake of the family, we're gonna start selling them. Like, I don't want to take the headache. I don't want to take it. We have so much equity in these properties that, there's no reason for us to be stressed out just because we own properties. I'm like, I got it. It's got to be a different way. And this is where I start selling the properties. And I sold in July. We went on vacation, believe it or not, through Europe for like 45 days. By the time we came back, I was still a little bit in La La Land. I'm like, I spent $10,000. Like, I didn't spend a fortune, but I didn't know what to do with the rest of the money that were cash in the bank now. So now I start looking to the syndication model. I'm like, I know these guys that keep talking about saving money on taxes if you invest with me, if you do this, you do that. But then gaining my trust, that was another barrier. I did not trust Alex. I met Alex out of Grant Cardone, and it was everything happened so quick. I got through 1, 2, 3 steps. Here we go, $10,000. I'm like, no, hold your horses. Like, I didn't do my work yet. I don't know who you are. I don't know your deals. So it took me about 2 months of work. And this is what I'm suggesting to all of you guys. When you join a mastermind community or when you join a syndicator, do your due diligence. I found out all the deals that Alex did prior to that moment of December of last year. And I've also interviewed every partner that he had. So I knew pretty much everything about his deals before I decided, yeah, he's the guy. I trust this guy. He done these deals. He walked the walk. He's not just talking about it. And now I have faith to move on with him. But even at that level, I didn't actually put money with him because now track record, it was very new. He did not go a full cycle into a syndication. Those are questions that, I dare you to ask yourself when you join a syndication. Is the syndicator trustworthy? Like, because most of the syndicates that came up late in the past year or so, 2 years, they're a byproduct of COVID. Anybody that had properties made a ton of money. Anybody. They just doubled everywhere in the country. Like, it's just, I don't know a place. I was like on top of the mountain in Mount Pocono, and my property from 60,000 when I sold it for 320.
Wow.
It's like, if my property in one of the worst areas ever went that much, I don't want to know what happened in Florida or Las Vegas or California or New York, right? So pretty much all these people that bought a whole bunch of units 3 years ago, 2 years ago, even a year ago, they're not really successful syndicated about, on my standards. The wave that they were riding was the wave of economy. It was COVID, was residual money. People had money in the bank. They weren't their money. They were risking it. Like, I heard Brooks. I was going to say Brooks Shields, but that's not her name. Brooks is she's a very good friend of mine in Massive Capital,
Massive
right?
capital. Yeah, Brooke.
I met Brooks actually on a mastermind community in New Jersey. I had no idea who Brooks was. We're just talking about and learning about sales, about pitches, about speaking on stage, and then I found out that she's a fundraiser, capital raising for this equity group. So, people like-minded, and we keep meeting in different circles, and we all do the same things. And this is what I want to talk to you about. Being part of these mastermind communities and syndications, man, it's gold. It's gold. You don't have to trust them with your heart. I didn't give them my money yet. Believe it or not, I didn't put my money into these syndications yet, including Alex. I put my time, which is more valuable than the money that I put in. So what I did for 6 months, I fundraised for Alex, for his deals, but I didn't fundraise just for Alex. I fundraised for 3 different syndications in the same time. Because, again, I'll give you the numbers, the stats. For every $100,000, you make about $15,000 on the back end. So I cannot live on $45,000 a year if I have 3 deals that I fundraise for $100,000 each. So I have to fundraise for multiple deals in the same time to bring it up to make at least $200,000 to $300,000 a year, so I can keep myself at the standards of life that I have. So I have to fundraise few $1 million every year. Now, mind you, the syndication that we're going with, Alex Lee, he had only 1 deal on the table, and that deal has been on the table since January, as far as I know, and it's still on the table. I don't remember any other deal that crossed my table that I was asked to fundraise for, or helped for, or any other role in it. Like it evolved into multiple scenarios, a lot of things, which is great because we all learn out of these things. But as far as the syndication goes, there was no other deal. And as the fundraiser, you have to be associated with multiple deals in the same time in order to make money at the end of the day. That's the game. The game of fundraising, it's okay, I'm going to get in the deal and I'm going to make money out of it. I decided
wait a second. So, I mean, you can't officially be on the GP team just as a fundraiser based on
Absolutely,
these laws.
absolutely.
So you're doing something else in the syndications to make money?
Absolutely. So that's what I was going to tell you. So I started fundraising for 3 different teams in the same time, and all of them I was going to take a piece on the asset management side. That was the promise. That's what I wanted to. But as soon as I start raising for these deals, it did not happen. One of them, they kicked me out, and they kicked me out. It was a nonsense conversation. They said, listen, you joined this mastermind and we're not in alignment and we just don't want you on our team anymore. I'm like, okay, thanks for letting me know after 3 months of work.
After you raised money for them.
Right?
Yeah.
After 3 months of work. So I didn't get a piece, I didn't get anything. All the recommendations, the connections just sat there, that recommendation. Somebody made money off of them, for sure. So, but I didn't feel anything. It was the experience. I loved it. I'm like, okay, I just got a kick in the butt. So what? And the second one that I was raising for, the second one was massive capital, believe it or not. And that was such a confusing time because I thought I was part of massive capital when I joined Legends Equity Group. It was presented as being one and the same thing. All the calls that I have for the first 3 months, I've seen Mike Bailey's and everybody from Massive that was involved with it. Nobody ever told me that, hey, Legends, it's not part of Massive. You didn't know that? They were presenting as being a subsidiary of Massive. So I'm like, Massive, but I'm raising my values. I'm raising for you. I've been giving you people for this deal, this, that. Is like, well, Alex decided to go his way. You either go that route or you're going to come with us. I'm like, okay, I guess that door got shut.
Wow. Okay.
So these are stories very close to us and very dear to us. These are things that, they happened to me in the very early stages while I was trying to figure out which team needs me more and if I can do it with multiple teams. So I've learned at the very beginning, 3 months in it, that you cannot raise for multiple teams in the same time because natural selection, they're going to kick you out.
Yeah. That's an
So I'm
interesting
like, okay.
point.
Yeah, it's you want to. So now if I'm looking back, you got to associate yourself with a team that has multiple deals or they're closing once a month.
John's raising for 4 deals right now, but they're all yours, John.
Yeah.
It's not multiple deals, right?
It's not multiple syndications. That's what I was trying to tell you,
syndicators.
that when I was trying to get that route, it got shut down. It's just my personal experience, guys, and I want to tell you, it has nothing to do, like there are other people out there doing it for multiple syndications. When you have a CRM and you pick up somebody in Massive and then you go on LinkedIn and you follow the link tree and then you find another 100 people there and you're going to send them an email, then you're going to stumble across somebody else's feet. It's part of the game. When you fundraise, if you're doing it for a syndication, you have to go big time. You have to do it full time. So now coming back to the actual fundraising steps that I took.
Yeah.
I've learned the syndication. I've learned what my guy wanted it. I knew exactly the amount of money that I was looking for. And now I picked up my phone. There's so many strategies and people are saying, listen, don't start with your family. Don't start with your family because you're going to make enemies. You know, you're on your first deal. What if you lose their money? So I heard that, and
I did that to my sister. She lost.
yeah, is she talking to you still?
Thankfully, yes, but it was a little tough for a while.
Yeah, I know, but everybody goes the same route, Don. I did the same exact thing. I called my sister. I'm like, I know you have some money. Like, you know, do you think, you know, this would be a good fit? Because I know she was willing to take risk, and it wasn't for me. She was going to take it anyway. So she did not. So I got lucky. I never had that conversation with her. But
Yeah.
I started with family and friends. Very
Yeah, it's
quickly to
uncomfortable
realize
when it doesn't work.
it's uncomfortable. Like one of my best friends texted me. I've been friends with him for 20 years, man. It still hurts today. It still hurts. Like I don't talk to the guy and it still hurts me just thinking about it. He said, Silvius, I'm not interested. I'm like, bro, I was just proud of it. Like I wasn't even asking for anything. I was just sharing. Like you're my buddy for 20 plus years. We've been through so many things together. I was just sharing. He says, I'm not interested. He says, if you're gonna pull one of those, then ask me for money. I'm not interested.
Oh, wow.
So one of my very, very good relations, you know, just I'm like, okay, I guess it wasn't that good relation. And at the end of the day, it didn't serve me well. So I'm glad that ended that way. It still hurts personally. So family and friends, it's a beginning, man. If you don't have anybody, you don't know anybody, yeah, you should ask around you, but just that. Just leave it at that. Just ask around. Because what's gonna happen later on, 6 months into podcasting and doing it, and a year later, my sister now is recommending me to other people. My sister now brings me leads. She never invested with me, but she's like, listen, I have a director of operation here that does that, and you know he's looking to invest in multifamily. Do you want to give him an advice? I'm like, yeah, sure. So guess what I did? I sent him to another syndicator that I know that I'm not part of the deal as a reference, and that's it. I made no money.
Oh,
I just made a good connection. I know this guy in the future, in the next 5 to 10 years, he is going to come back to me.
wow.
But I got to prove myself. The number of units that I own, they have to, you know, be in line to the things that he's looking for. So personal example, this is what I was going to go. If you're a GP already based on your own efforts into a deal, 30 units, 3 units, whatever it is, that's your business card. That's your real legit business card. You're part of a syndication, you're part of the GP table, that's your business card. You legit 100% to talk about your deals, talk about everything you want to talk about, you are in it, right? This is where Alex's mastermind came in play, and I think was extremely valuable because it gave a whole bunch of us in the group the power to actually fundraise and speak about, and not, you know, having the syndrome, the imposter syndrome, right? You're asking for money, but you never bought a building. So how is that going to work out for you, right?
Right.
I guess it works for a lot of people. I've met a lot of people in Cardone's events and places that I've been that done that, and it's not very, you know, unheard of. A lot of people doing that. It's Brooke started like that. She was in sales for 20 years. It was so easy for her to convert another lead in a different direction. It just happened to be commercial real estate. So Cardone himself, he sold cars. He was in sales. For him, selling somebody into it is just another closing for him. He probably didn't even know that he's closing on a commercial real estate deal. He was just
Well,
closing. That's what they do.
yeah, I was watching a video of his about capital raising too, you know, and I mean, obviously he has a huge audience that he built from not just real estate, but from everything. And then he, you know, cherry picks the ones for real estate. And plus he has the capital to buy the property first. So he has an easier story to tell. Like it's easier to tell a story. Like I have the property, I did the closing, I have the property management, I'm getting distribution, I'm getting cash flow, you know, so it's easier to raise capital from people like
So
that.
this is where we should turn our ear and play the game the right way. So Cardone is a master marketer. Cardone knows to market everything. He markets his kids. Every month that he has payroll, he posts. I get at least 1,000 emails from him a month. He posted like payroll. He's like, oh, I pay my guys this much. This is how many distributions I made this month. We just made 100 millionaires because we spent this much money. Yes, correct at this point. But he didn't start this way. So what I've learned from Cardone is that we do have to create a network, and we do have to get our own shell into becoming podcasters. Donna, like you know, like this show that you're having today, you gotta go public. There's no way you're gonna be able to raise in the future. I'm not even talking about today. I'm talking about a year from now or 2 years from now. Cardone didn't start with 1,000 followers or 1 billion
Yeah,
followers.
you're
He
right.
started with
Yep.
one or two.
Mhm.
And I bet it was his family, his first close friends, and he wasn't very successful in multifamily either. His deals, they're not that many deals for the amount of money that he has right now. I don't want to talk his character and everything else and how he made his money. I'm just saying he started as a marketer. So the only thing you have at the end of the day is you, your image, and you gotta create a market around you. That's the fundraising advice that I have for you guys, is to start getting out there. I think I'm still doing about 100 people a week, new people that I meet every week that I
What
talk
do you
to about
mean
commercial
doing?
real estate.
Oh,
I'm
you
going to
talk.
events. Yeah, I'm going to events. Now I do most of them online. I go to BNIs. I joined, and this is I'm gonna give it to you on a plate. I've joined BNI for business because I moved to Florida, but I did that in Pennsylvania as well. Then I joined the Rotary Club. Then I
Okay.
joined the Chamber of Commerce. Between these three, I had no more hours in the week to go to meetings. Literally, there were no more hours. There was no mastermind. Alex and his mastermind community, I couldn't make it on the call because I had a live event at 6 o'clock. And then another one the next day at 8, and another one at 11, and so on and so forth. The whole day got full. And I met real people, real business owners that had the money to invest. And I was talking to them, and most of them were like, Silvius, but you're new. I'm like, yes, that's why I'm telling you, do your due diligence and look at these other opportunities. So what I've done for the past year, I've created bridges for other people. I've directed most of my investors to other syndicators, not the ones that I'm actually working with directly. And I had to, because they were looking for real advice. They were looking for, listen, I have $1.6 million. Like, who do you think I should put my money with? I'm like, oh, you know what? It should not be one syndication to begin with. Just make sure it's 3 or 4. But how do I find the right players? I'm like, okay, go bigger pockets. I give them a couple of names, couple of suggestions. And then because I got the exposure, Cardone events and everywhere else, I'm like, okay, do you know Kenny G? You guys don't know Kenny G? Kenny G's been in business for 30 years, a syndicator. He went through all cycles, ups and downs. The guy has a fund, unfortunately. My guy was looking for a syndication model because he thought the syndication model is better than the fund. It's a personal preference. To me, it's the same thing. There's no difference. So, at the end of the day, money-wise, it washes the same way. With a fund, you probably get a bit more safety because you're in multiple deals at once. Then you're in a syndication model where you depend on one specific deal. So that's to be debated along the way when you become a little bit more sophisticated and understanding what the difference between fund and fund of funds and the syndication model is. But at the end of the day, becoming a syndicator and fundraising, it comes down to personal branding. You have to have a YouTube channel. You have to be on Facebook. You have to spend the money or the time and the resources to be present and available for everybody. You got to answer comments. You got to hire a company. Budgeting wise, I think I blew through 100,000 in my first 3 months out of my own cash. And I'm like, okay, I have no ROI here. There's literally no return on my investment on the short term. And as having a job and then not having a job and then looking at my bank account every day, I'm like, 100,000 for not doing any deals. It's a lot of money, man. Right? So not a lot of people have that luxury. And I was traveling and I was booking. I was laughing. I told my wife 2 days ago, I'm going to Phoenix. And she's like, why are you going to Phoenix? I joined a mastermind syndication about a year ago. I totally forgot about it. I'm going. So I guess I'm going to Phoenix. It's a fundraising event.
Okay.
So I bought tickets a year in advance, some of them more than a year in advance. So constant networking. Now, as you guys know, through the networking events and stuff like that, I ended up buying businesses. I bought into this electrical company right now that is eating pretty much all my time for the past 3 months. We're really, really good. We're in a really good spot right now. really, really good spot. So yeah, we have 10 employees. We're moving as fast as we can. We're getting into commercial space. Everything looks good. The company is going to go where it's supposed to go with a lot of effort, but a lot of connections again. So fundraising helped me not just placing their money in good syndication where I know they're going to make money for the future, but it gave me these relationships to leverage. I needed an estimator for a huge building, and I called the guy in New York. I'm like, hey, I need your help. Oh yeah, what do you need? Oh, I'm looking for an estimator. I need to turn this by tomorrow. I have less than 24 hours. Do you know somebody who can get this done for me without, breaking the bank with $10,000 for a drawing? So these are people that I helped with syndication. These are people that I can call and that I can leverage. I can make money off of them, but not directly off the syndications, right? So now diving into the connections, because I made steps and I created and I have CRMs. Like I use 3-4 different CRMs for the fundraising. I start recording
Okay, so
myself. I put
let's just
pictures.
tell people what CRMs are because they might not know.
Oh,
Client
with my own words, I've
relationship
learned. Yes, I've learned
management.
it's a tool. It's a computer program, let's put it that way. It's an agenda where it's like a phone book for anybody where you drag and drop your new contacts, and then you can create some campaigns, right? You are able to send text messages to 10 to 100 people at the same time. So it saves you time. And you can actually track the conversations. You can record them, video, you have them on messages, and you can follow the conversation. I think that's the key point. You can follow the conversations that you had with a prospect. Now, how do you funnel through a prospect? I was able to go through my phone book, and in my phone book, I have 2,000 people. They're all millionaires. Then I was able to go through my Facebook, and because I've been part of so many mastermind communities along the years, I have over 3,000 people that are millionaires that I know in my Facebook account that I use just for business. So right there, I have 5,000 people. I'm like, I won't be able to track 5,000 conversations in the same time. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, how do I even start? So I sent 10 messages and 5 of them got back to me. And now everybody's talking about family and how you've been and let's connect and this and that. And that's time. So I'm like, okay, I can't do more than 5 connections a week because I can blow them. I can break these relationships instead of fostering and nurturing and keeping them close to me because they represented something in my life and they're important people. I can break them. So my first 100 messages sent out through a CRM was a complete disaster. I got blocked by the CRM. Somehow they flagged my phone number. The people that I sent messages to like, take me out, stop, you spamming me. I'm like, oh no, 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 no. Like I didn't want to go that route. That was the opposite effect. So I stopped at my first 100. And this was
So
me
what do you
using
think it was about that first 100 that, what was the lesson there besides? What do you think you
the
did wrong?
lesson was the lesson was you can't put everybody in the same pot.
Oh,
You
okay.
just can't. You can't send a general message and expect 100 people to reply, to answer you the same way. It has to be custom. It has to be, catered for that specific individual. You're reenacting a relationship that, my relationship, some of them were dead 5 years. So if you're going for that kind of stuff and you're looking for people that you haven't talked in 5 years, you're in the wrong spot asking for money. You shouldn't be. You should be like, hey, how you doing? Like genuine interested. And this is the fine line that I've learned. Out of all these 5,000 people, I think I have about 30 or 40 that I really keep in touch, and I think that's my tribe. I think these 30 or 40, none of them are doing syndications. They're in a different space. They're doing other things. They all have money. Eventually, in the future, these are going to be my key players because they offer value, constant value. So this is where I want to go, Donna. What kind of value can you bring to any individual that is going to get into your syndication? Like, how can you genuinely help without having anything that you're going to get back? That's the real question. So nobody's dumb, especially people that made $1 million. They're not dumb at all. They've been through it. They know, they can read you. They understand your intentions from the beginning. I'm an immigrant. They know my story in and out. They know where I am. I'm publicly speaking about my issues. I'm on YouTube. They can find in a couple of minutes of Google search, they know pretty much 90% of my life. So then here I am trying to convince them that I have this amazing deal in downtown Vegas that, we need another 100,000 and that's it. And I know the guy's a millionaire. He says, okay, if you need just 100,000, you should pull it out of your bank. I'm like, what a great idea. That was the end of the conversation. What I've learned is that it's just be very careful what you're asking and what you're giving. And we know this rule. I go to church a lot, and the person that speaks there, he talks about money, and Jesus spoke about, like, I don't know, 38% of its time about money and things about that. And it's a good pointer, because we put our money where our heart is. So if I'm looking back on my life, everything that I invested in is where I believed. I truly believed. I did not put my money anywhere. When I bought my first car, I loved that goddamn car. I knew everything about it. So whatever I put my money in my life, in my journey, is where my heart was. And I did it because I loved it. I was a golf player. I bought $2,000 golf clubs. I love my clubs. I should have invested with Ping, because I was buying Ping at the time. So whatever you put your money now, when I see my guys and they're driving these luxury cars, or they have these beautiful homes and stuff like that, you got to find out where and why. What are the values? What are the values that they're having, and what's different? And then if you figure out their values, your values, you got to find a common denominator. You got to find out that common point. Is there any way that you can bring them value? Is there any way through the things that you believe in, things that you do, that you can actually add value to them? Because then the money are flowing to you.
It's such an interesting point. So, your position is, how do you give first to get later?
I think that's what fundraising should be all about. And pretty much my mentors and people around me and people that are successful, they did not go on Instagram asking for money. It happened to a couple of them that got money from Instagram, because, like I said, the economy was in a different spot. People made a whole bunch of stupid money on crypto, and they dumped 100,000 in a syndication without even know what a syndication is. And they used whoever they've seen on YouTube or on these channels. But I don't know anybody, if you ask me, that got into a syndication through Instagram. I don't know. I asked people around, like, how did you know? I don't know anybody on Facebook. So all these social media channels are just an approach. It's the 1-2 step. You get to know them better. So that's your opportunity right there. But I don't think they're going to put money with you just because you're famous. And I'm not even putting money with Cardone just because he's famous.
Yeah,
I'm not. I understand
I have a little bit with him, but
How much money have you made with him, by the way? Now that I put you on the spot.
Yeah,
Tell me how much you're getting a month.
1.36%. Nothing
Alex
much
has the
to
same.
speak of.
So now let's dive a little bit into that. I didn't want to do that, but let's go that route for a second, because I love his business model. He speaks on stage and he tells people in, like, every event, major event, that I'm building this for my daughters, for my kids. I am never going to sell. I'm like, okay, Cardone. So what is the message here for me coming in to invest into your fund? You're never gonna sell, right?
He
So
might
when the
refi
hell,
out, give you your money back, and then you get infinite returns.
if you're lucky,
if you're
and
lucky.
if he catches the right cycle in the next 5, 10, 20, whatever time he's got, because it's up to him, because he's one decision maker, that is his fund.
Yeah.
Right? There's no input. So if you come on stage and you tell me that you're never gonna sell, then right there I have a problem. I'm like, okay, I'm not in control of my own money, my investments. Now, having a fund, you have your money idling for 3 years before he decides to put your money someplace.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Right?
It took a year for the last one.
That's another thing that you should consider, and with big syndicates like Cardone, because he's waiting for big whales, for big shifts. He wants to buy units that are A class, A neighborhood, A everything, brand new construction, and he wants that builder to bleed.
Yeah,
So
I just did it because I wanted to see what the process was to be an LP.
That's
I didn't put
amazing.
very much in. It's like, well, what is this about? So
Yeah,
I risk very little.
that's great, and I think that's the way to do it. That's how I start my investments too. My investment in my first syndication was Alex through the mastermind. It wasn't through
Okay.
my own personal money into the deal, and I decided not to do that. I'm like, until he proves himself and this deal goes in or another deal goes full cycle, I cannot go that route. Like, I love sweet talk and I love everything about, mastermind and
Legends.
communities and legends. And yeah, I love the people in the tribe, in the community, but I don't see their power. And the power is into the number of deals they're closing. So until that starts happening, which it will, because
Oh,
very
sorry.
slowly now the mindset is there. The mindset is
Yeah.
created.
To me,
The
the
schooling is there.
power is in the education. Just
I
continuing
think
to
so too. I
pay to
agree.
play a little bit.
You started 2 years ago. I'm getting closer to my first year with Alex, and I don't think I have anything bad to say about how he presented and what I've learned up until this point. And it's just a journey. But every one of us has an individual journey, and every one of us chooses how to show up in these deals and events. And I have something that just puts me a little bit of conflict with Alex most of the times. I'm an alpha male and I like to dictate my life and my day as I want to. And just the fact that he's got 7 calls with me a week, it bothers me. I'm
Got
like,
you.
I'll miss one in purpose just because I want to make my own schedule. Like this kid with his big dream wants to hijack all my dreams. So, I'm guarding myself very careful when it comes down to that. I love
It's
him. I
funny you
think
say that because it's like sometimes I think like, who am I doing this for? Like, scrolling through social media. I'm like, am I doing this for me or am I doing it for somebody else? Like
That's a very good
answering.
question. Yeah, that's a
Uh,
very good question to ask because everybody has their own agenda. Like every person is normal. There's nothing wrong with that. I appreciate it. I love him. It's normal. But it's my actions serve me 100% or serve him a little bit more. That's what I'm asking myself all the time. I'm like, okay, my Sunday, 11 o'clock, should I go to church with my family and kids or should I listen to Alex's call? So I
you know what
make
your priority is. Yeah.
Absolutely, but I make a point in showing up at least on one of the calls because I love Course in Miracles. I think it's powerful. I bought the book. I'm doing my own individual study. So there's nothing wrong there. Totally nothing wrong there, but I choose my family. I have to. It's,
Yeah.
that's the priority number one there. So let's go back to fundraising because I was
Yeah.
gonna I was
Fundraising.
we
Go ahead.
start talking about the CRM thing. So the CRM is a very good tool to use, but use it just as a tool. And B, it's a very powerful tool. It can make or break your relationships. And it broke a couple of mine that I don't think I'm going to be able to fix. After some automated messages were sent, and I tried 2 campaigns, I didn't know how to do it the right way. So I was asking Nick, can you help me? This, somebody can, just guide me a little bit. And they did. They set it up. Another flaws, major one of the CRMs. They made me purchase a 1-800 number. So now in order to send messages, you can't connect your phone, your direct line. So now imagine all these people that I had on my phone book got messages from 1-800 telling them that it's Silvius. So when I get those phone calls, I think his account must be jacked or
Yeah.
something. Something happened. He never contacted me this way.
Don't recognize the number.
Yeah, I don't recognize the number. So I don't even look at him. I go, whatever, it's too many words, right?
Even if it's local from the region, and if I don't recognize it, it has a name on it.
Too many spammers out there. Yep.
But you become one
Thank
of
you
them
for
by doing
coming,
that.
John. I think we're talking tomorrow. Let me know. Send me a Zoom. I mean, Friday. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the CRM helps because you can keep track of your leads, you can keep track of these conversations. But I created kind of my own step, and I did it on a piece of paper. And this was way before the CRM was available. So number one thing you want to contact, right? You want to contact somebody. I don't know how, where you decide to. I go to an event, I meet somebody, and usually I pick the people on stage, believe it or not. I'm like the Texas Cowboy. Right? He was in a speaker competition, this and that. I'm like, I want to talk to that guy. He's not Cardone's, kind of people, because he's not that hard to find. And I found the guy, I called him up,
Yeah.
he picked up the phone, we talked, awesome person. Like he was
Let me just
67.
explain what that is. There was Cardone has a Great American Speak Off, and he was one of the contestants, and he was a finalist.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
was able to actually get a hold of him very quickly,
Oh,
and
cool.
I had a conversation with him, and I was talking about, and he told me he's invested in Tesla, and he's doing only Tesla, and that was his spiel, and he kept his whole $76 million with Tesla. So that was what I found out from a conversation on the phone, based on the fact that I was in the same event in the room.
Hmm.
I never met the guy, so I shoot for the big shot too. I'm going for it. Like, why not?
Yeah, why
Not all
not?
of them are going to answer, but they're easy to access. They're not that complicated. I'm like, you're not talking about Tom Brady, right? Talking about somebody on that sphere that you can touch, and it's not too complicated to do so. Because he's available on social media. I picked him up, I think, on LinkedIn. It wasn't even complicated. You just follow their handle, boom, 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 and you get to them right away.
Yeah.
So getting back to these relationships, you got to nurture them. And I put the number one thing is contact, man. You got to contact, you got to make contact. One way or the other, got to make contact. It's a family member, it's fine. You still have to contact them, right? So you gotta be in touch with, hey, what's going on? How you doing? How you been? I just want to see, where are you with your life? A genuine interest. Like, I miss some people. Like, I have people that I genuinely miss, and I don't call them with years. Like, I'm looking at my phone, like, I can't believe it. Last time we spoke was 2 years ago, bro. So we pick up the conversation like it was 5 minutes ago. So these are like old relationships that you had with multiple people that you click through your life.
Now, do you ever
So,
feel awkward like telling them what you do? Do you ever, is that part of
well,
the
I guess
imposter
you know
syndrome?
what it is. I created a big um, social media presence, I guess, my own. I talked about it so much that everybody knows what I'm doing.
Okay.
I don't really have to tell them what I'm doing. So I skip that part. And it's a
Okay.
lot easier. Some of them start the conversation that was like, okay, so how's your deal going? I'm like, which one? Right away, I'm like
I got a
throwing a
million plates
curveball. Like,
juggling. Yeah.
yeah, like what are you talking about? You talking about the business that I just bought? You talking about the convention center? You talking about this? Like which one? So you bring them into your game right away. These people are prompt to invest because they want to know more. Um, I had people that showed up in my house, man, and now multiple. They show up literally on a Friday night, 8 o'clock. It's like, Silvius, I'm here with my wife. I'm in the Poconos. Like, can we stop by? I'm like, bro, we haven't talked in 6 years. So they swing by, we have dinner, everything is like fine, we're reconnected, just to find out that he has $1.5 million in the bank and he's willing to invest.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, okay. So why'd you pick me? So I don't know anybody. I'm like, yeah, but I can't help you. I think you're too big for what I'm spinning. Like, I just don't need that kind of money, and I don't want to take the responsibility for that kind of investment either. I'm like, the best thing to do, again, I was telling you earlier, invest with multiple syndications if you have the urgency of investing right away. Those are people that I turn away because I don't really want to deal with them and their money, because when they have that kind of money, and they're going to put a lot of pressure on you. It happened to me in the past. You get involved with them, they start putting money with you and whatever you say, and then they're going to call you like there's no tomorrow. They're not calling Alex, trust me, they're calling me. They're not calling the main syndicator because the guy doesn't pick up the phone anyway. They're calling you. You're responsible for their money.
Yeah.
So that's the unseen side of fundraising. You are a concierge service. You are responsible for their money. You're not fiduciary responsible, but you are responsible morally, because that's how you got them to begin with. You did not get them on a contract. You got them verbally, and you got them because you know them somehow, and because they wanted to use you to go into that direction, right? Or they came in for advice. So you're responsible no matter what. Every single person that I directed into a syndication, I did my best 100%, because those are the syndications that I put my money with. I send them to the people that I know for sure, because they've done it for 20 years, like I told you. Like one of the examples I was giving you earlier, You know, there are people that have done it for 20, 30 years, and I know they know what to do with my money. They're not going to play foolish with my money now that I'm being the first investor. But the times have changed. Now, be aware, this is an investment, and it's one of the most riskier one, right? It's one of those investments where you can lose it all. I didn't hear anybody talking in none of my masterminds communities anywhere else about people losing their buildings. And I think it's just
Until
one or two.
recently, right?
Yeah, Martinez is the first one who admits it on, you know, in front of everybody he lost the deal, but he's not the only one. There are actually so many out there. And
okay.
the KP losing his money because he guarantees for the deal, it happened before multiple
Yeah.
times, like with a lot of syndications.
There's
So
somebody in Legends who was invested in Martinez's deal, lost it all.
that's again, lately I've decided to step down a bit, and this is when I'm glad I did that, because this was my pivoting a little bit into buying businesses than staying into the commercial space and constantly fundraising. I fundraised for 6 months. I found everything I found up until I got stuck with deals. The deal flow wasn't there anymore. The deals that were coming up weren't good enough. So people that had the money is like, okay, listen, let's find something else. And then I pivoted into buying businesses, because this is what Cardone is actually doing. Cardone is buying businesses a lot more than he's buying real estate. He created these investment tools where he acquires businesses. If you go to Cardone 360 for $50,000 with a plumbing company, he's going to bring you from 1 mil to 10. And then, I'm sorry, then he's going to bring you
Brandon
from
Dawson, yeah.
Yeah, Brian. And then he's going to bring you from 10 to 125. But guess what? They want percentage.
Oh,
That's when you become, they're always saying, even on stage, they say like, it's better for you to have a small percentage of a big number than have a big percentage of a small number in sales. Reality is they're selling a lie. They want to buy you out 90%. They want to give you 10%. And then they bring the company to 100 mil.
oh, wow.
So that's his strategy. It's publicly speaking about it, maybe in a different, different visualizations and stuff like that, with different marketing around it. But at the end of the day, this is what he does for a living. They flip these businesses, they turn them around, they bring them 10x up, and then sell them. And the actual owners, they don't get 10% out of it. They get less, because they're being bought out when they're worth under $1 million.
Yeah.
So that's the other side. So commercial real estate comes in with multiple adjacent businesses, and this is probably for another subject for some other time, but every trade, like I said, electricians, plumbers, carpenters, surveyors, inspectors, everybody has a piece. These are all businesses, and when you own a building, 500 doors, all of them have to eat. The contracts, the maintenance contracts are more than the rents. They are making more money on the maintenance, on cutting the grass, than they're making on the rent.
Wow.
Especially here in Florida, where labor is close to nothing. They still pay people $20 an hour or less here. I'm like, I don't know, man. Last time I was working with 100 and it wasn't enough. I don't know how can you do it with 20. I just don't understand. We live on the same corner. We go to the same store. We're buying the same food. I just don't get it. How can it be that low? And the expectation is for them to work 40 hours and put the work and, always be available. So it's tough. It's tough. COVID flipped things around, but not in a good way. Inflation went through the roof. Everything moved in apparently the right direction, because the government was keep subsidizing and throw money on the markets and things like that. And now we're paying the price. Now, finally, we're going to see the real effect of nobody going to work for a year or two. There's nothing
You
produced.
see it in the supply lines.
I still have issues. I can't move the business into the commercial space because we cannot find the right materials for the commercial space, believe it or not.
Wow.
In electrical supply, they made the panels. Now, finally, they caught back with the things that they were missing last year, but they don't have the breakers for the big panels. So
Yeah,
there's a huge
we
break.
had, was it last year or 2 years ago? I can't remember now, but we had to put new windows on one of our rentals, and it was what, 5-6 months to get them ordered and shipped.
Yeah, this is the supply chain is still struggling. They still have that issue.
Yeah. But you bring up a good
It's
point. I mean, you know, before you go into a syndication, before you take other people's money for a syndication, you really have to understand the cycle of the market that you're in and the potential risks.
You do, and when you're on top of the wave, like we were a few years ago, it was easy to fundraise, and this is another point of fundraising. Now, when you hit the bottom, now you're the opposite spectrum. It's just like
Right.
normal real estate. Selling a house now, it's a pain, and not too long ago, not even a year ago, you will get multiple offers on it. People would bid without even seeing the property, right? Unheard
But
of
I wonder,
before.
because we're heading toward the end of the year, if people are now looking at, you know, for tax ways to write off their taxes by investing. So what do you think?
Considering the numbers are very low, the number of transactions that happened this year, they're very, very low. So yes, you're right, they're going to go that route, but very few. It's just like, the fish hit the water, you're going to see the tail and that's it. You're going to see it once or twice and it's gone. It's going to be very brief. It's not going to make a difference on the big. That's my personal opinion. I might be wrong, might be totally wrong. I don't think it's going to make a difference. What's going to make a difference is when the rate is going to go down. That's just going to make a difference. Everybody's waiting. The mentality of the crowd, and this is what stands in what's going on. And I am successful in fundraising because I shut down the mainstream and I became one of them. That's when I made that delineation, and when that thing happened in my head, then people start seeing a difference in the way I'm thinking, the way I'm doing things. And I think that's really where you are in the personal development stages. You have to go to a point where you realize you're God. You're God. You can create, you can destroy, you can do anything you want here on earth, right? But you got to put your mind to it. You got to put everything behind what you do. And when you start doing those things the right way, then you're going to see residuals behind you. People that actually see your efforts. Then they want to get associated with you along the way. Where is this guy going? Question, one of my friends. I'm like, I want to, be Robin Hood, man. I want to bring this because this is what I was learning from Tony Robbins, and then from Cardone and Alex. It's like, I want to be Robin Hood, man. I want to, decentralize buying a building. I say, why the hell do you want to do that? I'm like, because I understand it and I don't think it's impossible. I don't find it very complicated. And why do you want to bring it to like, why don't you let other people do it? I'm like, because I take a stand, man. Like I am somebody in this life. I've learned it. It's not complicated and I want to give it back. And while I'm doing this thing, I'm getting filthy rich. And that's the major question mark. So, you're doing it for money. Well, money is a residual out of my actions, right? They come based on my actions. If I move from single family home into the commercial space, and now I network with people that have these money in the bank and own these buildings, and I'm learning from them every single day, where do you think I'm going to go in the future? So now 50% see it, 50% don't. The ones that see it, they want to associate themselves with you.
Yeah,
And these are the real opportunities that come. Now, with these people that you have behind you, you can build a tribe, you can buy your first fourplex, you can start building on it. And again, like I said, Cardone didn't start with 500 units on the water.
yeah.
He started with, I think, a duplex, his first rental, right? He bought a house, his first rental, it didn't work.
Right.
Then he moved back in rent.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think fundraising, it's very easy to do if you're truly dedicated to your craft. If you are into the multifamily space and you're planning on being there and you become a pillar in that space, then you're gonna find people that want to get associated with you. And nevertheless, they're not the guys that you call. They're not the call calls. They're not the guys in your CRM. There are real people behind you. There's the nurse, the construction worker, I don't know, the soccer coach, people that you interact every day. These are the real investors. These are the people that are going to help you move the needle in the right direction. And they're gonna associate themselves with you because of your results, your track record.
Yeah,
It's
they
so easy
trust
for me.
you.
They trust you. You like and trust people. You got to know them. How do you know them? You got to be familiar. How? Social media if you can. I'm not a fan of it. I hate it. I actually hate it. I haven't had Facebook for 6 years. And I got it when I got in Bigger Pockets. They made me. The community was in a group in Facebook, so I had to reinstall. I put that goddamn thing on my phone. Now it started taking my time. And then 2 years later, I dropped it again. Then Alex comes along and says, no, 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 no. We have a WhatsApp group now. Put this
Yeah.
thing on.
Ding,
Then
ding,
back
ding,
on
ding, ding.
Facebook. Well, yeah, 120 groups. I can't even count them anymore. So social media is the necessary evil for you being out there in the world. And Don, I commend you for what you're doing because it's important. It's important for the future. It's every call, every step is a stepping stone to success. Everything that you do is a stepping stone. I watched you on the call with Alex the other day, and I'm watching the progress, and I'm watching him, and I'm paying attention to everybody. I'm not that guy that puts the hand up anymore because I
Okay.
did that. I did that. People know me. There's no reason for me to be that number one guy there, asking a
Yeah.
question or trying to sound important just to be first one on the Zoom call, right?
Yeah.
It's good to do it when your time comes in. If you're the first time into a call with a group of strangers, they need to know you. So you better be asking some questions, right? Yeah. So on a more realistic note with the CRM, I have some steps in my head and I want to give it to you guys.
Okay.
First one is the relationship builder, and I keep people there as long as is needed. So on the first process, when I called you to say, what's up, how you doing? Then I hang on to that thought and I'm taking you through a mental process. I'm like, okay, how can I help this guy? What is it that he needs? He needs something in this direction. Okay, maybe a book is helpful. I don't have anything for this guy. He's filthy rich. I can't help him. He lives in Nevada. I'm in New York. Like, how can I bridge this gap? If I'm there, I'm not gonna fly there for him. But if I'm there in the area, I'll pick up a coffee, and I'll meet him. But what else is it that he needs? Oh, he talked to me about marketing. Well, I know a guy, Roberto. Roberto is a marketing guru. I'm like, Roberto, maybe you want to talk to John. Why? Because he needs you. He's the displaced, and I can tell you, here you go, you created a connection right there. And just make sure that they know you made that bridge, right? And then stay in touch. How did that a month later, 2 months later, how did that Roberto thing go, bro? Oh, I didn't like the guy, it went south, but you still keep the relationship. You didn't do anything wrong by making a recommendation. So now I move my prospect from stage 1 to stage 2. Now we have points in common. Now I've created a bridge. Now I can actually talk about my success and, I'm putting my stuff up there and I'm not worried that John is going to shut me down because now we're speaking the same language. Now he's looking for a bridge. He's trying to pay back. He's looking for something service, but what do you need, bro? I'm like, oh man, I'm doing this with my personal life. And most of the times I lead my personal life, believe it or not, because that's where most of my things are happening. In my personal life, I got arguments with my wife. I got the issues going on, with kids and yeah.
Businesses and growing a business,
so
moving.
easy.
Yeah.
It's so easy to relate. Everybody in their life moved at least once. Everybody bought a house. Everybody had kids. It's so easy to relate. So then you keep the conversation going up to the point when they start becoming a little bit more personal. That has no time frame. That's not a month later. That's not 2 months later. That's not 6 months. You can't put a price and a time frame on it. When they become a little bit personal and they start talking about finances and investments, then you can start coming up with your own, bro. But I'm doing this. What do you think about, I'll get you involved with, I bought a business and my mentor now is selling part of his business. So now people that want to invest in commercial space, I tell them, listen, I don't have anything available right now, but I have a business for sale just like mine. So what's the catch here? Well, I can mentor you through the process because I've just done it. Then that's a win-win. Right there, I'm offering real, true value. And it's equal to that $1 million that he has in the bank. Because the prospect of buying a business and making that $1 million back without me asking anything, it's huge.
That is huge.
Yeah, and then down the road, keeping this conversation going, he says, no, he passed it. He says, you know what? I decided to go a different direction. My wife wanted a new house and we went this way. and we did this. But months down the road, he calls me back, says, listen, is that business still for sale? I'm like, no, man, that was, 2-3 months ago. The opportunity is gone. But do you have anything else? And now we can talk real estate.
Mm.
Now I can tell them anything I want because now they're the ones that are calling me about an investment. Now I'm not pitching them. I'm just telling them, I'm like, bro, I'm invested in this deal. This is the opportunity that I had. This is the direction that I went. I met this guy here. I did this. There's no pitch there. I'm not telling them,
That's
put your money with me.
really interesting because, so often we're eager and, to share or offer opportunities, but it may not be the right timing. Is
That's
what
the
you're
most
saying.
important word right there. Yes, the timing. It's not the right timing unless they are the ones opening the conversation about investments. Because
I
other than that, it's just another sales pitch. It's just another Cardone video. It's just another thing. And you become just one of those and then you get blocked,
Yeah,
you get shut down. And the value that you could bring them potentially gets, shattered. It's not, you're not a value bringer based on that because
definitely.
you spoke too fast. Your syndication model, syndication deal, you wanted to close. I made this mistake at the very beginning. I knew we had deadlines. If you remember for Ogden deal, we had deadlines, right?
Yeah,
We got to close in 3 months. So I panicked.
yeah,
I'm looking at my list. I got 10 more people to call. I'm like, God damn it. These are hot prospects for me. In my mind, these are the people who are going to give me the money. I had them already laid out. We had the conversations for months now. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to pull the trigger. I have to pull the trigger. I got to close or I'm not going to close. So I lost with every one of them.
wow.
Every one of them was a no. Because I wanted to close. I gave them an ultimatum. You got 2 more weeks, bro. Otherwise, this opportunity is gone. And they passed.
Yeah,
And they passed on the relationship with me.
wow, it's rough.
Yeah, that's where they go. It's I took it as like one of those things that, they're casualties. I'm like, I was one of them. I tried my best and I felt like I failed, but I failed forward because I've learned my lesson not to do that ever again.
Yeah, I'm gonna
And
try that too.
yeah, I started with family, it didn't work. I started with friends. I told you I got shut down by my best friend. I started with somewhat strangers, 5 years that I haven't spoke with, but I knew they had money. And then I totally shifted my approach. I'm like, let me make a win-win thing for you first. And when I say win-win, it was actually just one win on their side.
Mhm.
Now I got people that came in my podcast that I wasn't expecting. Ben Leibovich. Ben Leibovich, I had a podcast with a guy. He's one of the founders of Bigger Pockets. The guy's doing 300 million plus a year.
Wow.
I wasn't expecting to get half hour of his time, never ever in this lifetime, especially after I lost track and connection with him 6-7 years ago. So what happened is we're still friends on Facebook because we still are. He never shut me down on that. And when he was posting something personal, I dared to ask him, like, Ben, I have somebody that is still looking to invest into the syndication model. Do you have anything coming up?
Hmm.
And very quickly said, yeah, sure. Let's get on a call tomorrow and let's talk. So first thing I did when I got on the call is, what are you doing? Have you been? We haven't talked in so long. I'm super busy. I just got this $150 million deal. He says, what's up? What do you need? I'm like, well, I don't need anything, but I think you should meet an investor that I have.
Hmm.
And man, I think that was like me winning gold. I felt like I won the gold medal. I did not ask for anything back. I did not ask for anything. I just made a connection, a genuine connection for somebody else. And he didn't ask me anything. But then a couple weeks later, they hooked up, they did the deal, they closed, they went over. And a couple months later, I'm like, Ben, I have this podcast and I reached 3,000 people. And he says, oh my God, I said that if you reach 1,000, I'm going to come into your podcast. So he came in and we had a conversation like brothers. We talked about, it was so friendly and so nice. And I know his net worth now, and I know his struggles and I know his deals. Definitely had no time to talk to me.
Hmm.
But I want to now, if I need a partner in Phoenix, Arizona, I know who to call. If I need
Definitely.
anything in Phoenix, Arizona, I need a contractor. I want to buy, I don't know, 10 units, 20 units, 100 units, 150 units. Ben is the one who's going to close for me.
Wow.
Why? Because at the time when he was closing, he needed this last guy that I provided for his deal.
Mm.
And it was just genuine help, no money there. I lost a whole bunch of money on the back end. I'm like, okay, at least 150,000 it cost me that phone call.
Yeah, right.
But reality is, it did not. They were not my money. I'm not tied and connected to that. It was just a genuine connection. And then in the future, I think I opened the Pandora box for opportunities for me with that guy and his people and his syndication. And now we talk, and now he calls me. Now he said, "Oh, let's do another one. Let's have fun. Let's talk about it." I loved our conversation. I'm like, you know
Wow.
what, man? I think it was totally worth it. I definitely helped two people in the same time, not one.
Mm.
So
That gives you
that's
a lot
kind
of
of
pleasure, a lot of
a
joy.
lot of, yeah. So
And a
fundraising
little,
now, yeah, for me, it's awesome. I love doing it, but at my own pace. There's not a competition in it. You can't fundraise for a specific deal. You have to find the people and give them the opportunities when the right time is for everybody.
I appreciate hearing that, because sometimes you feel too eager and it's like, okay, slow it down.
Well, the syndicator has an agenda, right? The syndicator has to close this deal. So everything that happens into that forefront, it's the syndicator pushing to close this deal. And there's nothing wrong with that. I totally think is, it's all good. Nothing wrong with that. That's his agenda. That's his mission. He's got to stay true to his people, his
Yeah, the
investors.
deal, right?
The deal. He's got to push through it. So there's nothing wrong there doing that. But for you being, on the other side, you got to stay true to yourself. I'm like, okay, what am I doing here? Am I building new connections and am I building my portfolio and I'm building my character, or am I just pushing for a deal and pushing people away from me?
Mm. Yeah, it's a good question to ask.
Yeah. Guys, I love you. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
If you
time
have any
is,
questions, let me know. I'm available. I'm pretty much available anytime. I'm super busy, but I'm also super available. You just gotta text me, call me. I fall a bit behind on my social media messages. Again, I hired a company to do it for the past 6 months. I think I'm not even aware what's going on in my social media. I just delegated and I left it at that. I'm like, okay. And
there you
people call
go.
me, say, bro, your shirts are not really that good. What's going on? I'm like, I don't know, man. I have no idea how they chop up these videos. So,
I know.
yeah,
I'm thinking about getting some shorts done for this video and some of the other, I only have, this will be my 8th one that's been recorded. So,
congratulations. I think you're doing
yeah.
amazing. I can't wait for, few years down the road to see how far you're going to be into your business and your dealings and, how are you going to explain to other people how this journey was?
Yeah. But it's, for me, it's actually pretty amazing because, I have an opportunity to have a conversation with people like you and, John, who was a prior guest, and some of the others that'll be future guests. It's, I in a way, I feel like a little selfish because I get to have my questions answered too, but then I'm doing it and
Yeah,
sharing it with everybody else. So they get to hear.
I'm with you there. I'm with you there 100%. I have a podcast, so usually before I have a guest, I know who the guest is, and I express my personal worries and my personal interest. The questions that I'm asking are straight related to what I need to learn about that specific topic. So I went a little bit broad. I started with commercial real estate, but then I got out of it because I need to know about bonds. I need to know about insurance. I need to know about businesses. I need to know about government programs. I need to know about so many things. So now I'm inviting people over. I'm using my track record and my public image to drag them in so I can find out more things, pretty much. It's not that I don't want to pay for it, but it's in a different setting though.
Yeah,
It's a lot more easier to get information that I want this way than if I get it in an hour. In an hour is the contract, that's it. Time
yeah,
up.
that's it. Well, I want to be
Yeah.
respectful of your time and everyone else's, but this was a wonderful conversation, Silvius. I really appreciate your time and your wisdom, and I
Thank you so
really
much
got
for
a lot
having me
out
on.
of
I
it.
appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And just see if anyone has a question, one question, a question, anyone? name of the podcast. It's called Hook Up with Real Estate. So it will be
No, I think
on,
his podcast.
oh, sorry, Silvius's podcast.
My
Your pod-
podcast is called Everyone Deserves a Chance.
Thank you.
And I
Okay.
didn't think twice of it when I put that name up. I felt it. Yes,
Thank
thank you.
you. All right. What's your Instagram? Yes, why don't you put your Instagram in the chat?
Absolutely, I'll do that.
And thank you, Roberto, for coming in tonight. He said he really appreciates your hearing your mind in this tight place. You will do extremely well. Okay, so this Silvius's Instagram is Silvius Grant. SilviusGrant.
Roberto, good to see you, Roberto. I have to see you in person, by the way. Let's connect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I still owe you lunch, right?
Yeah,
We'll meet somewhere like Hollywood Beach or something.
it was really close. We
talk.
should soon.
We'll talk.
Yeah, awesome. Good to see you.
Nice
All right,
job,
guys. Thank you so much.
you guys. Very
All right.
nice.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining. Have a
Thank you,
wonderful
everybody.
evening. Bye-bye, Silvius. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Good stuff, Silvius. Nice to see you.
All right, I'm gonna stop
Yes,
the
bye-bye.
recording.